And now on to our second round. It's called Power Play. To team one first, to Selena. Grandparents in many homes are being, if they are not sent to old age homes, that is, they remain in the family, are treated like glorified ayahs, especially the grandmother. It's a cruel irony here today. There are several children who are in daycare centers and the elderly in old age homes.
I personally have a lot of people around me, and every person, the kind of friend circle that I hold and the kind of people that I'm surrounded with, everybody, no matter they belong to this generation, they do whatever is for fun and for lifestyle, but they don't forget the core reality that honoring your elders is the most important thing.
All right, to Aisha, you question 2. Do you believe that merely spending money or sending them money if you live abroad absolves you of your responsibility? What about the emotional support? What about the need to talk to them, to check their blood pressure?
Precisely. In fact, that's what my mother says. She doesn't need money. Luckily, she is well off. Okay? What she really requires is time spent. My children, her grandchildren, spend time talking to her. When they go off on their various jaunts across the world sailing for India, they take her blessings because, like my mother taught me to do pranam, that's touch her feet. My mother is a Bengali. I touch her feet. My children have learned that very simple act of doing pranam, and that helps inculcate a feeling of physically that you have respect for someone who is older than you. And I think that's a really good Indian custom.
Touching their feet versus kicking them out of the house. There are several children who split responsibility. We know of cases where one child takes care of the mother and the other takes care of the father. So the elderly people, you know, in the autumn of their lives are split. And most cases, they suffer from depression because of this. So this whole thing of rotational responsibility, which is nothing but tokenism.
They're really missing the greatest blessing of keeping their parents together, because by separating them, keeping them away from each other, they're really committing a big crime.
Don't you believe that this is payback time? That we are all here because of them? But several people in the rough and tumble of life say that, look, we've got so many things to do, we've got too many balls to juggle.
I believe so. When we were young and helpless, my parents brought me up. I had a lot of sickness issues as a child. In fact, I had to learn to walk again when I was 3. But my parents looked after me. They didn't abandon me. I mean, I could have died because maybe the medicines were too expensive to buy. Now, would I do that to my parents? No, because they looked after me as a helpless child. They are helpless now. Now it's our time to look after them, and I think it's an honor to be able to look after your parents.
There are several children whose parents suffer from Alzheimer's. They lock them up, don't allow them to go out. Those who are diabetic and who have to eat every 4 hours or 3 hours are made to wait endlessly for their food at home, and the food also is either too salty or too sweet, so they don't have a choice in even the kind of food they eat. These are ground realities.
I had my grandmother who just passed away 6 months back. She suffered from kidney failure. She was a diabetic. She had a hole in her heart. She suffered from everything a woman shouldn't have to suffer with. And when she lived with us, we made sure of everything that she was taken care of. Every meal, if it went beyond 1 o'clock, she would just start fainting. She would just black out. So giving importance to these things, I don't believe, because I haven't seen people doing that, because in fact diabetic people have to be given more care. Every person I have known and have come across diabetic elders have made sure and they understand it, because today's generation has a better understanding of these things, of what is diabetes, what is these things, because there's so much of awareness of every
All right, they're not doing
sickness.
it, you're saying. Okay, Aisha, to you next. They say old age itself can sometimes be a disease if you have ungrateful children. Now, in the census, 1 out of 2, it's every other person suffers from a chronic disease. I'm talking about the elderly people. And that requires lifelong medication. To quote statistics, 50% have arthritis, 40% have blood pressure, high blood pressure, 10% diabetes, and that figure may have well gone up by now. 40% have, their vision is not as it should be, it's defective. 30% have hearing impaired. 89 out of 1,000 are mentally ill. So this is the kind of the scenario we live in, and yet you have children who forget treating them like, they don't even give them that, forget ordinary care. This requires special care.
There are segments of society who would be able to look after their parents because they are well off. But the ground reality is if they do not have money to feed their own children, they are going to choose to feed their child rather than take care of their parents.
All right, that's an interesting point, yes. Selena, to you. Gone are the days when retirement age was 58 or 60. Today, a survey done by Human Rights Group in Chennai, they surveyed 800 people in 5 slums across Chennai. Ms. Indrani would be aware of that. 32% of those who work for a living are more than 60 years old, and a fifth of that number are between 70 and 79 years of age, and they're still working. What does this point to? Statistics that stare us all in the face.
There are so many who really don't fall into that category, who really are making sure of whatever they can do in spite of how much they've had conflicts with their elders and, you know, they've had love affairs and, you know, the parents have been against. But today they're building houses where they can make sure they have a room for their parents, you know. So I don't think the statistics will be right in my case, or I would like to believe it, because I think there are other numbers out there which will not fall into this.
So you're probably going by the advertisements on TV of this construction companies where this little,
No,
where the son actually puts his father's name outside the new apartment.
No, I have a personal friend who lives that. That's why I'm able to so strongly say that.
Fair enough. Aisha, old age pension, you know, the national scheme, old age pension of 400 rupees a month for elderly people. Is that enough to buy even diabetic G-Reg? What are G-Reg, the commonly used diabetic drug? Is that enough at all?
Well, first of all, looking at the price of food, it won't be enough to even buy their
double-digit inflation, yes.
Yeah, and forget about trying to get medication on that pension. So they will have to be supported if they are getting only that much by their children. And I think the best way around would be for them to be living with their children, because then they won't have to run a second home. And I think that is important. However, they say, you know, if there's love, you can eat out of a tamarind leaf. And if there is no love, even if you have 2,000 square feet of space, you will not have space for that other person.
Oh, that's a lovely, very well put, lovely point there, Aisha. Selena, to you, taking off from there, distance is not really a question of geography. There are children who live next door and who still don't care for their parents. Like the West, the whole concept of Mother's Day and Father's Day, once a year you probably go and visit them and give them cards. Unfortunately, it's catching on here as well. How many children go and actually visit their parents, even in the same cities?
They do. I believe it very strongly, because I'm so convinced about that fact is because I live it every day with people around me. So even today, even if they are far off, they would, end of day, they would meet at their parents' house after work hours, take their child, make sure they have dinner and then go home. And this happens.
Touch their feet?
Of course they do, because they're from the Indian culture. So they do that, and not every day would they go home and have dinner with their own, you know, by themselves. Because they know the parents love seeing their grandchild, then spending time. So the fact that they live it every day, and I see it and experience it every day, makes me want to believe this, that there are people like, apart from these statistics, living out there who know what their ground realities are, that honoring their elders is the most important thing.
Can I add to that?
Yes, please.
My husband's parents live in the same city. They live in Kilpauk, and in fact he actually bought that flat for them. We decorated it. He has breakfast with them every morning because he plays badminton, goes to their house. He actually makes dosas because my mother-in-law is having problems with what's it called, whatever the disease is called. So he goes there, he makes dosas, and so he spends every morning 6 days a week. Only on a Sunday he does not.
It's probably one in a million. He goes and plays badminton, makes dosas for them and then feeds them. 1 in a million. Anyway, final question to you, Aisha.
Yeah.
Family bonding, they say, is not just about blood. It's not just about DNA. It's about being there when the going gets tough. How many of the youngsters today are there for their parents when the going gets tough?
While there are children who may not be there when the going gets tough, there are children who are there.
Those who fry dosas and all that.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Now it's time for team 2, Indrani Rajadurai and Dr. Shanta. Indrani, to you first. The Maintenance of Parents and Senior Citizens Act 2007, which came in after a lot of struggle by activists, by Helpage India and other NGOs, provides for 3 months imprisonment and a fine of 5,000 rupees. Is that a deterrent? Don't you believe that the law has also come to the rescue of elders today?
Yes. So we can imagine what the plight of elders. We have to introduce this Parents Maintenance Act. And I would first of all say it's shame on us, because, you know, an act like this should not be introduced and it is the duty of the children and grandchildren to take care of the elders at home.
All right, yeah, the fact that the Act itself is brought about, you're saying it's a shame on us. Dr. Shanta, the Act also gives people, because very often we find that the power of attorney is often misused. Children force their parents to part with their property and then after that kick them out of the house. So this Act also gives parents, elders, the option of getting back that property. Again, a sign of empowerment.
The sign of empowerment is there in paper. How many of the elders know where is the legal literacy and are they fit enough to go and fight it? That is the main crux of the issue. All laws are there on paper. Who is there to implement them? Where is there going to be legal literacy? And is the old person fit enough to go and fight the case? And always in India, you know that justice is delayed. Even will the old person's health be there to go and fight for it? I think that is the issue.
Fair enough. Indrani, the Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, 1956, are also provided for financial support to the elderly. Do we actually need a law today? Because what should be accomplished by love and care and affection cannot be imposed by a law.
See, the love and care and affection, if it's there for the elders, this law will not be introduced. The very fact that the law is introduced, the love and care and affection is not there. But to a large extent, this bill, this act will be helping many elders to get their rights, to demand their rights from their family members or the community or from the government. So this act is really helping the elders to get their rights done.
All right, Dr. Shanta, they say that not all children want to neglect their parents and abandon them and abdicate their responsibility. More often than not, it's because of economic compulsions or because children get, in fact, the parents who actually motivate their children to go and study abroad, to settle down abroad, get that green card, go in for greener pastures, and some of them are not able to withstand, for instance, even practical things like the climate there. So it's not that they want to neglect their parents, sometimes it's inevitable. Do you agree? Do you subscribe to that view?
Yeah, I subscribe to that view, but we should not look at that part of the population. You should look at the large rural population and persons in the lower middle class and in the slums. Because children who are sent abroad, the families have a little bit of means to look after themselves. But when you look at the rural areas, many of the sons and daughters have migrated to the urban areas for work, and the rural poor are left alone. In the slums, again, the shortage of space, it's not that they want to neglect them. The shortage of space, the economic compulsions, there's no space. That is why I told you, I was a case which I recently saw where the old people were thrown out. They came to our colony. They refused to tell the name and the address of their son or daughter. And the old lady, by the time we could call up the police, she died on the payment. And the old man quietly went away after the cremation. He would not give the address of the son or daughter. This lady was bedridden. So it's not that they don't want to neglect, but the obvious compulsions are there because of lack of space and economic problems.
All right, Indrani, many parents in fact don't see eye to eye with their children, especially the daughter-in-law or the son-in-law, and that's the root of the problem. So this question of adjustment, they don't see eye to eye and they want their own personal space, so some of them voluntarily opt out.
Yes. We are getting such kind of cases through our helpline, and we have done repatriation after counseling the elders also. See, first of all, it's on both the sides. The daughter-in-law should respect the parents-in-law as parents in love. Not as per law, they are parents-in-law.
Oh, that's a rosy slogan which never followed.
And similarly, the parents-in-law should treat the daughter-in-law as daughter-in-law. When they can love their daughter so much, they should also love their daughter-in-law.
We've heard only of columns in magazines called in-laws and outlaws. But Dr. Shanta, there are several children, in fact even the finance ministry has recognized this today. There are so many children who take Mediclaim policies for their parents. So if this doesn't speak of concern and respect, does it speak of neglect?
Again, you're looking at a very small section of society which can afford the Mediclaim. I'm saying look at the 70 to 80% who live in the lower middle class and below the poverty line, where they can't take policies for themselves and where the old people are forced to work. You take a look around your own colonies and you will see all the watchmen are old people. They are there just to switch on the motor, switch off the motor and sit and sleep and get the post. So, the concept of medical aid policy is there for a very small fragment of society. The whole other society is left uncovered, and it's for your eyes to see. Look around your own places where you stay.
Fair enough. Indrani, the government, do you believe, is not doing enough? Because even in Chennai, which as I said earlier has the largest, among the metros, largest population of elders here, India in fact is the second largest hub of elders in the world. Look at countries like Canada. In Canada, for instance, I want to quote, there's a tax rebate for those who look after the elderly parents and 6-week compassionate leave. In Denmark, they have these do-it-yourself retirement communities. In Japan, very interestingly, there are gadgets like online kettles which send out emails to 3 different people, and also robotic dolls which tell elders, I love you. So countries have done so much. Why are we lagging behind? Is it only because of the attitude of youngsters, or there's a lot more to it?
See, the government also, they have introduced this old age pension of 400 rupees for a person who doesn't have a single pie. Maybe this 400 rupees will be handy to them. But I would say that now we are sensitizing the government to release the state policy of older persons.
The government is giving free TVs and it's giving people 400 rupees a month to survive, subsistence.
You know, they have to increase it. We have requested them to increase it, and they should also have, for health aspects, somebody was talking about health. Now, like Dr. Shanta said, that one particular segment of old people, they are not having, they cannot take medical aid policy. So the government is planning, we have requested them to start geriatric wards in different government hospitals, in the districts also. To my knowledge, goes only one geriatric ward in Chennai. And the people have to stand in a long queue in OPD. By the time they see the doctor, you know, they are very tired. So we in HelpAge, we have introduced 75 mobile Medicare units which can reach the elders at their doorstep.
Do you believe in the doctrine, as you sow, so you reap? There are several cases, for instance, talk of child sexual abuse. Many cases it happens by an uncle or sometimes even fathers abusing their own daughters. And there are still children who, despite all the discrimination meted out to them, in fact there are daughters. Daughters seem to be more compassionate towards their parents than sons, although they have been discriminated against.
See, this doctrine is all in paper. I think
everything is in paper.
The most important thing is that the elders should also realize this concept that an old age is going to come and that we should learn to adjust. So it's not one-sided, it should be both-sided. The elders should also learn to adjust, and the younger generation should also learn to respect. It's not, you can't take individual cases. By and large, everyone wants to take care of their parents, take care of the elderly people, but it can be due to a variety of causes that they are not able to do so.
Point taken.
I would like to add there, because the student community is here. They always used to tell me, auntie, you are only blaming us that we should take care of the grandparents, but you don't advise the grandparents that they should also adjust with us. But again, I would tell them that we segregate elders into 3 categories. 60 plus is young, old. They are very active, they can take care of themselves, they are still assets. But just think of 80 plus, we call them old. They attain second childhood, and you, whatever counseling you give them, whatever advice you give them, they cannot take it up. So like small children, they may urinate in the drawing room, or they may dress like a small child, but you know, the children have to understand that grandma has come to this old category, and they have to take care of.
Okay, this whole concept of an old age home, there's a stigma. People don't like the expression old age home, which is why Chennai, for instance, you have the classic Kudumbam, for instance. They have senior citizens resorts, and provided for by children who perhaps are living in America.
See, there is a mushrooming of old age homes in the city, and many of them are not licensed. That shows there's a need for such homes. But resorts like Classic Kudumbam are meant for the elite few.
Organizations like NRI Parents Association, where you have the concept of happy silvers. They have their weekly meetings, they keep themselves occupied. And so there's question of self-help also. Should elders always fall back on their children for everything? Because there are several who manage on their own. We are not talking about financial independence, but emotionally.
Senior citizen associations will help them to let out their feelings on, emotional mind that they have in there, or even their family matters they can discuss with them in a senior citizen association. Plus, because they are grey skill bank, when they have the silver hair, we always call them grey skill bank, their talent could be utilized for the welfare of the poor elders who are in the community.
We'll slide into a short break on SL Chennai Speaks Out Season 2. A lot of people think that NDTV Hindu is only for the young people. We are not. We are there for all sections of society, particularly the vulnerable sections of society. So if you're a young person watching this debate, don't fight with your grandparents for that remote. Stay tuned.